Have you ever wanted to make your own rug? Well, I'm going to show you today how to use a tufting gun to make your own custom rug. This is day 11 of the 12 Days of Christmas DIY series, and I'm Ashley, and this is Chip Build, so let's just jump right into it. Now, in order to make a rug, the first thing you do have to do is put the tufting cloth onto a tufting frame. This one came in a starter kit that I got from Tuft the World, but if you want to make your own custom frame, I do have a video that you can watch that will show you how to do it. It's really simple. Putting the cloth onto the frame can be a little bit tedious. It's just hard because you really got to get the cloth to hook onto the nails that are sticking out and pull it nice and taut. That way you're not going to rip the cloth while you're attempting to make the rug. So in order to get our design on there, I do have my computer with the image I want to use connected to a projector, and then once I have it to the correct sizing, then I'll just take a Sharpie, I'll trace the outline onto the tufting cloth, and then to kind of help me remember, I always will put the first letter of the color in the correct spot. That way it minimizes the mistakes I make. Okay, so now that we have our tufting cloth on our tufting frame and we've drawn out our design onto it, the next part is to thread up our tufting gun. This frame comes with like sticks to put the yarn on, but I just have it in a bucket just because for me that is easier. But really you just got to do whatever is easiest for you. Sometimes it's easier to put them on there, but because I cake my yarn into balls, it's just easier for me to do it this way. And so what I do is I use 2 strands of yarn to make it thicker. And then I'll come through this first loop with both of them. Then I'll come through the second loop with both of them. And then you want to make sure that your yarn is flowing freely. So then next what we're going to do is we're going to use this threader. Now this is meant for hair, but it works perfect for the yarn tufting gun. So whenever you're threading the tufting gun, you want to make sure that it is unplugged, because these are sharp needles and you do not want to cut off anything. So what you do is you shove this into the hole of the needles, and then you put it through this top hole as well. And then you take your yarn and you put it in the opening. You gotta make sure you get both strands in there. And now that they're both in there, then you can pull it through that first loop and then pull it through that second loop. And now your gun is threaded and we can start tufting. So the knob down here does adjust the speed. I prefer to go a little bit slower just because it's easier to control. So let's start. So I am gonna do the black outline first. And so you just shove the needle into the fabric and you want to have a nice firm pressure, and then you can just start going. Now when you get to a curve, I like to just go slowly and do little splurts. Like that. So one thing with this gun is you cannot go down. You can go up and then you can turn, and then you hold this handle steady in the front and then you can turn your gun either which way, but you can't go down, otherwise it will rip the fabric. So the yarn did come out. So again, we're just going to take this threading tool and put it through the opening of the blades, and then put it through this top yarn guide opening. And then we can just take our 2 strands of yarn, put it through the opening, and then pull the yarn through the 2 holes. You can also do this with a paper clip. It's just easier to do it this way. So I do think my tufting cloth is a little loose on this side, and so I am just going to pull the fabric a little bit tighter, because you don't want there to be holes in your fabric as you're tufting. So you can see I kind of went over this part where it says white, and so it's not the end of the world, so I can just come in here and I can just pick out the spot that I messed up. I got a little too excited there. See, and then now we have that spot fixed for the white. I know this seems crazy looking on the back here, but I promise it will make sense. And if you are just starting out tufting rug, I recommend to go slower rather than faster. Otherwise, you might be making a lot of mistakes. So I'm just trying to get all the black outline done first. So this part's looking kind of crazy to me, so I'm definitely gonna have to go back and look at my reference image to see what this part is supposed to be. So now it's time for us to do the white part of the rug. I always like to start with the outline for like characters and stuff, just because then I think it's easier to color in the other sections. So this gun is a little bit heavy, so sometimes I do need to put like an anti-fatigue glove on just to really help. That way I can do this longer and that I don't strain or hurt myself. Now when you are tufting, you want to make sure the lines are pretty close together. You don't want really big gaps in between the lines, just because otherwise when you touch the rug, you'll be able to see a gap and you'll be able to see the tufting cloth behind the yarn. But I would definitely do a couple practice runs in the corners before you start your main rug to kind of see what kind of fullness of rug that you actually want, just to get the spacing right. So as you can see for the red yarn, I am just using the skein as it came from the craft store. These ones, I did not take the time to cake them up just so that you could see the two different ways of using the yarn with the tufting gun. This rug looks freaking awesome already. Let me know down in the comments what Christmas movie is your favorite. For me, it's honestly a tie between The Grinch and White Christmas. So before I glue the rug together, I want to pull out these little stray strings just to make my life a little easier. You could also just take like scissors or clippers, but it's kind of fun to just pull out the long strings. You want to be careful though that you're not pulling out a big chunk of the design either. So normally I do use a very specific rug carpet glue, but I've seen some people use Elmer's school glue, so I want to try this. And I did lay down a canvas drop cloth underneath the rug tufting frame in case any of the glue seeps through. So when you're gluing the rug, you want to make sure that you get every part of the rug glued. You want to get the outside and the inside, and you just want to really make sure that that rug is not going to come apart. So I definitely err on the side of more glue rather than less glue. Also, you do want to glue your rug while it is still on the tufting frame. That way it's nice and taut and it's not going to dry with the glue and curl in on itself. Lucy, the shipping intern, has decided she wants to try to help. With the Elmer's glue though, it is harder to see because it's white and I'm using a white cloth. It's harder to see the parts of the rug that I've already applied glue to. Okay, to me, all the parts of the rug look like there's glue on them, so I'm going to let this sit out overnight. If you don't want to wait, you could just put a fan over pointed at it, and then that would speed up the process as well. So now that the glue has dried on our rug, the next step is to cut it out of the tufting cloth. There are two ways to do this. You can either cut it right up to the edge of your yarn, or you can do what is called a waterfall edge, and I've covered how to do that technique on a previous rug making video, which I'll link up above. But for this one, I am just going to cut it right on the line just because I haven't done that technique yet. So ideally, you want to have nice sharp scissors for this. Definitely want some fabric scissors. Also, it is easier to cut out if you leave it on your tufting frame. This is my least favorite part of the rug making process. It would be less annoying if I was using the proper scissors though. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out my felt and cut that and glue that down, and then I'll do like a final trim to get it flush on all the edges. So we have the felt down, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just flip it halfway back. And then I'm gonna put spray adhesive on this side and this side, let it dry, press it down, and then do the other side. You wanna make sure you're doing this in a well-ventilated area. So for this, I am using Gorilla Spray Adhesive, and it says to shake well before use. So I'll let this dry for about 30 seconds, and then we can press it down. So I let this dry for just about a minute, and then I'm just gonna slowly press it down and put it in place. I am also gonna walk on it, that way it gets some good pressure. So now we can flip it and get the other side. And then we can let this dry for a minute, and then we'll do the final press. All right, so we've waited 1 minute, and now we can press this one down too. And then I'll also step on this side. And then our rug is done. Just kidding. Still gotta trim out all the parts and then carve it up. So when you make a rug with a rug tufting gun, a lot of the time the yarn will come out uneven, and so it looks kind of crazy. So what I do is I use this little carver on the slowest setting, and I try to even it out as much as possible. And so that looks pretty good to me. The next thing we're gonna do is gonna vacuum this up. That way it looks nice and fresh. So I didn't really glue down the corners of the belt very well, so what I'm gonna just do is I'm gonna come in here with a hot glue gun and just put a couple little dabs and just press it down. Just that way it's not gonna pull off. You don't have to do this step. It's only if you didn't do that great of a job with the spray adhesive, which I clearly did not. And now our rug is officially done. Well guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down below if you have any comments or questions about making your own rug or just the tufting experience in general. I'd love to get back to you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel so that you can stay up to date on all the different DIY projects that I do. Don't forget to smash that like button, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. Merry Christmas. Bye.